Greetings, everyone. This is Rock and Roll Spot coming at you with some deck overviews. And this time we will be talking about a, well, fitting for the day commander deck that I put together a while back. This is also the first time I've done a what I refer to as kind of an inadvertent upgrade. Deck in question being Karametra's Harvesttide Festival. As always, if you want to see the full deck list, the link to it on Moxfield will be in the comments below. Or not the comments, but the description below. So, by all means, take a look. You want to comment on a Moxfield? By all means, do so. I'd love some feedback. Or comment on here. So, I mentioned this was an inadvertent upgrade. A long while ago, before I really started working on commander decks, I had the idea of making a Clerics and Angels deck. It was initially, I think it was initially mono white, and then it kind of evolved into being white green or Celestia, and it kind of sat for a while because I really wasn't sure how to make it really pop, I guess, and. Well, I revisited it starting a few months ago, and little by little just started putting more and more stuff in, and eventually it kind of got to the point where I was like, okay, I don't know where to go with this otherwise, but I had picked up the Coven Counters pre-con from Innistrad Midnight Hunt. And so I started looking through the cards in there and realized, hey, a lot of these actually work really well in my Clerics and Angels deck. It became more of a Humans and Angels deck as opposed to Clerics. So, now the big thing was, initially, I don't even remember who my commander for it was initially, but after a while I thought, hey, why not use Karametra, God of Harvest? This is the Commander Legends etched foil version. I picked it up. I opted to pick up. I think I had a list that I gave to my local game shop, and included on it was 2 copies of Karametra. And they said, "Oh, well, we've got a regular, we've got an etched foil." And so I was like, "Oh, yeah, okay, I'll take. No, yeah, sure, I'll take that." And so, yeah. The main reason for wanting extra copies was so I could keep one in my book with all the stuff from Journey into Nyx. I believe she's from Journey into Nyx, or actually no, I think it's scratch it, Born of the Gods. So the basic idea is that you've got a lot of human creatures, quite a few that are low cost. Especially in white. A few highlights would be, for example, Champion of the Parish. Always a good way to start to get things rolling on buffing up your creatures, especially with Champion of the Parish being a 1/1 human soldier for 1 white. Whenever another human enters the battlefield under your control, put a +1/+1 counter on Champion of the Parish. Okay. Also, as I didn't read off everything with Karametra, which we'll take a look at her. There's her text. She is a 6/7 legendary enchantment creature god, for 3 colorless, a green and a white. She's indestructible. As long as your devotion to green and white is less than 7, Karametra is a creature. Whenever you cast a creature spell, you may search your library for a forest or plains card. Now, note this does not specify a basic forest or plains card. So there's some fun things you can do with that. Put it into your hand. Put it onto the battlefield tapped. Then shuffle your library. Okay. I'm fairly certain I've got the the Celestia Shockland, Temple Garden in here. So, but let's see some of the other another pair of nice one drops. We've got they're basically the same creature, but Soul Warden and Soul's Attendant. Now these, like I said, these are basically the same creature. They both are 1/1 human clerics for 1 white. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield, you may gain 1 life. Now with Soul's Attendant, you may gain. With Soul Warden, it's you gain. So yeah, slight differences. We've also got some Abzan stuff from Khans of Tarkir. The Abzan abilities have, after all, help with +1/+1 counters. But among them, we've got Abzan Falconer, who is a 2/3 human soldier for 2 and a white. He has Outlast 1, or Outlast 1 for 1 white. Basically, you pay 1 white, tap Abzan Falconer, put a +1/+1 counter on Abzan Falconer. It can only be done as a sorcery, though. Each creature you control with a +1/+1 counter on it has flying. Okay, alright. We've also got the Abzan Battle Priest, which does the same thing, but for lifelink. Now we've also got another fun one that's probably going to be showing up in a Sax deck at some point if I build one. Thalia Heretic Cathar. This is the second version of Thalia. Thalia is a 3/2 legendary human soldier with first strike for 2 and a white. Creatures and non-basic lands your opponent's control enter the battlefield tapped. Now, to be fair, the non-basic lands part, there aren't too many from what I can, as far as I can remember at least, non-basic lands that don't enter the battlefield tapped. There are plenty of non-basic lands that don't enter the battlefield tapped, but they aren't as widely used. But yeah, here's the Abzan Battle Priest. Doling out lifelink to creatures with +1/+1 counters on them. Then we've got the other Abzan ability, which was from Dragons of Tarkir. Bolster, featured on the Elite Scale Guard here, and I think maybe some others. Bolster, so Elite Scale Guard is a 2/3 human soldier for 4 and a white. When it enters the battlefield, you bolster 2. Choose a creature with the least toughness among creatures you control and put 2 +1/+1 counters on it. Whenever a creature you control with a +1/+1 counter on it attacks, tap target creature defending player controls. Okay, alright. Then, there's a lot in here that deals with +1/+1 counters. We've got like the Phalanx Leader here from Theros. It's a 1/1 human soldier for 2 white. With the heroic ability, whenever you cast a spell that targets Phalanx Leader, put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. Okay. And of course, we do have some, as mentioned, this is not just humans, this is also angels. In fact, I passed by one a little bit ago. The Sunblade Angel from War of the Spark. This bad boy is a 3/3 for 5 and a white. It's an angel with flying, first strike, vigilance, and lifelink. Yeah, all she needs is trample, and well, trample and trample, and she's just perfect. We've also got Sarah Angel, Archangel of Thune, which is a 3/4 angel with flying for 3 and 2 white. Also has lifelink, and whenever you gain life, put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. Okay. Herald of War, a 3/3 angel with flying for 3 and 2 white. Enters the battle. When it attacks, you put a +1/+1 counter on it. Angel spells and human spells you cast cost one colorless less to cast for each +1/+1 counter on Herald of War. That is incredibly useful as well. So, of course, there are ways to nip that in the bud. You slap a you find a way to basically make it unable to attack, and well, yeah. Then we comes to green. We of course have we've got a mana dork, Avison's priest or Avison's pilgrim, who is a 1/1 human cleric for 1 green that can be tapped to add 1 white. But green also has a lot of the +1/+1 counter stuff. Like for example, Dragon's Guard Elite, a 2/2 human druid for 1 and a green from Strixhaven. But she has the Dragon's Guard Elite has Magecraft. Whenever you cast or copy an instant or sorcery spell, put a +1/+1 counter on Dragon's Guard Elite. 4 and 2 green, double the number of +1/+1 counters on Dragon's Guard Elite. Okay. That that can get messy. Then and of course we've got we got the Timberland guide. We've also got plenty of green ramp. Timberland guide also gives out +1/+1 counters. It's a 1/1 human scout for 1 and a green. And when it enters the battlefield, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature. So you want to make sure he's not your actually, no. You could do it. Okay. If you can put it on him if you want. It doesn't say on another, so it's just on target creature. So he can start himself. Another one of the legendaries we got hanging out here is Azusa, Lost But Seeking. This is a card I've had for years, and yeah, I've been wanting to run it in decks for so long, and anytime I build a deck, usually that deck will just kind of push aside there's too much crap in here or whatever. But Azusa is a 1/2 legendary human monk for 2 and a green. You may play 2 additional lands on each of your turns. It's kind of a big deal. Then we've got ramp in the form of the Borderland Ranger, a 2/2 human scout for 2 and a green. When it enters the battlefield, you may search your library for a basic land card, reveal it, put it in your hand, then shuffle your library. That can help with kind of it's turn 3. I just played my land, and well, I don't have it, and so I should make sure I got another land drop. So play that, and land. Okay, cool. I got turn 4 land drop at least. Then Harrowblade Elite adds the +1/+1 counter shenanigans. So 1/1 human warrior for 2 with vigilance for 2 and a green. Whenever another human enters the battlefield under your control, put a +1/+1 counter on Harrowblade Elite. You can tap Harrowblade Elite to add X mana of any one color, where X is Harrowblade Elite's power. So we got +1/+1 counter shenanigans and ramp. Always a fun combination. Then for additional ramp shenanigans, we got Shaman of the Forgotten Ways, a 3/3 human shaman for 2 and a green. Be tapped to add 2 mana in any combination of colors to your mana pool. Spend this mana only to cast creature spells. Also has the formidable keyword, or formidable ability. I believe that's 9 colorless and 2 green, and tap Shaman of the Forgotten Ways. Each player's life total becomes the number of creatures he or she controls. Activates this ability only if creatures you control have total power 8 or greater. Okay. A bit pricey, and there can be some very fun things to do with that. That would definitely be a fun way to follow up a board wipe that didn't affect you, for example. provided you, of course, have the 11 mana to do so. But then in a similar ramp fashion, we've got Somberwald Sage, a 0/1 human druid for 2 and a green. The Somberwald Sage can be tapped to add 3 mana of any color. Add 3 mana of any one color. However, it can only be spent to cast creature spells. You also have another Abzan one without last. Tuskguard Captain. A 2/3 human warrior for 2 and a green. Outlast 1 green. So 1 green tap, put a +1/+1 counter on this creature. Each creature you control with a +1/+1 counter on it has trample. Trample always being useful after all. So also in the ramp field, we've got the Dawnheart Rejuvenator, a 2/4 human warlock for 3 and a green. When it enters the battlefield, gain 3 life, and can be tapped to add 1 mana of any color. Chances are that you're probably just going to be tapping it for green or white. Then we have Karametra's Acolyte, a 1/4 human druid for 3 and a green. Can be tapped to add an amount of green mana to your mana pool equal to your devotion to green. Each green mana symbol and the mana cost of permanents you control counts toward your devotion to green. And that applies also to Karametra with what it says about her being a not being a creature or not. Then we've got Ascendant Acolyte, which also does some +1/+1 shenanigans. Ascendant Acolyte is a 1/1 human monk for 4 and a green. Now, it might seem a bit pricey for a 1/1, but it enters the battlefield with a +1/+1 counter on it for each +1/+1 counter among other creatures you control. At the beginning of your upkeep, double the number of +1/+1 counters on Ascendant Acolyte. Oof. Then we also have some cards that work off the Coven ability, such as Candlelit Cavalry, a 5/5 human knight for 4 and a green. Coven. At the beginning of combat on your turn, if you control 3 or more creatures with different powers, Candlelit Cavalry gains trample until end of turn. Okay. Alright. Then we've got Champion of Lamholt. More +1/+1 shenanigans. A 1/1 human warrior for 1 and 2 green. Creatures of power less than Champion of Lamholt Champion of Lamholt's power can't block creatures you control. Okay. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, put a +1/+1 counter on Champion of Lamholt. So you just pop out creatures, and it goes from creatures with power less than 1, 2, 3. And eventually your opponents can't block you. We've also got an Eternal Witness, a little bit of Graveyard Recursion. Siona, Captain of the Pyleus. A little bit of, just have some to smack your opponent around a bit. When she's a 2/2 legendary human soldier for 1 and 1, a green and a white. When she enters the battlefield, look at the top 7 cards of your library. You may reveal an aura card from among them and put it into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. Whenever an aura you control becomes attached to a creature you control, create a 1/1 white human soldier token. Okay, all right. So that'll definitely come in handy. We've also got from the Coven Counters deck, Lenore, Autumn Sovereign. She is a 0/4 legendary human noble for 2 a green and a white. She also has a coven ability. At the beginning of combat on your turn, put a +1/+1 counter on up to one target creature you control. Then, if you control 3 or more creatures with different powers, draw a card. So, hey, not only do you get to do +1/+1 counter shenanigans, but card draw. There's plenty of +1/+1 counter shenanigans in here. Guardian Paladin, Juniper Ranger, Sigarda Human's Grace makes also makes human soldier tokens. We got 2 planeswalkers. One is Elspeth, Knight Errant. Now the main reason for Elspeth is her emblem. But okay, so Elspeth, Knight Errant is a planeswalker for 2 and 2 white with a starting loyalty of 4. If you add 1 loyalty counter to her, you can put a +1/+ or a 1/1 white soldier creature token onto the battlefield. Or add 1, target creature gets +3/+3 and gains flying until end of turn. Or her big one, remove 8 from her. You get an emblem with artifacts, creatures, enchantments, and lands you control are indestructible. Okay. Now, for some reason I thought that it read permanent you control, but I guess no, it's just okay. So it can still affect. So planeswalkers can still be destroyed, but yeah. Still, that's that's something, all right. Then our other one is Ajani, Mentor of Heroes. An Ajani planeswalker for 3 green and a white with starting loyalty of 4. +1 loyalty. Distribute 3 +1/+1 counters among 1, 2, or 3 target creatures you control. +1. Look at the top 4 cards of your library. You may reveal an aura, creature, or planeswalker card from among them and put it into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order, or in any order, okay? And then -8, you gain 100 life. Now that'd be a good way. That's a good way to kind of keep yourself from being definitively wiped out. Though you would still have to worry about commander damage. Also, for our ramp, we've got Arcane Signet, which in this case can be tapped for a green or a white. Copper Mirror, Gold Mirror, Celestia Signet, all of which add green and or white mana. We've also got Nyx Lotus, which so this is actually a card I'm really fond of. I'm surprised it's not a bigger deal in Commander, or in extended formats in general. Is a 4-cost artifact, legendary artifact, no less. Enters the battlefield tapped. Then you can tap it, choose a color. Add an amount of mana of that color equal to your devotion to that color. So yeah, that's actually be showing up in a lot of my mono and 2-color decks from here on, because as much as I like the idea of running it in larger decks, I feel like you wouldn't have as much. The devotion wouldn't be as high in a 3, 4, or 5-color deck. Well, it's got a coat of arms because, well, hey, it is kind of a somewhat tribal deck. So Now here's one of the fun ones: Sigarda's Summons. This is one of my favorites for +1/+1 counter shenanigans. So Sigarda's Summons is an enchantment for 4 and 2 white. Creatures you control with +1/+1 counters on them have base power toughness 4/4, have flying, and are angels in addition to their other types. Yeah, so you can kind of turn your entire, all your soldiers and warriors into angels. And if they, those +1/+1 counters add that, instead of adding to 1/1 or 2/2, they add to 4/4. Now there are some creatures you have to be careful to not put +1/+1 counters on, and that's kind of why I made a point of having as few put a +1/+1 counter on all creatures you control effects as possible. So after all, you don't want to turn a 5/5 with 3 +1/+1 counters on it into a 4/4 with 3 +1/+1 counters on it, right? Then another fun thing here is Celestial Mantle, which is a creature enchanting aura for 3 and 3 white. Enchanted creature gets +3/+3. Whenever enchanted creature deals combat damage to a player, double its controller's life total. Whew, 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 whew. You do that after doing Ajani's Game 100 life? Whew, boy. You pretty much turn yourself into the arch enemy, but yeah. Plenty of, like there's some ramp, card draw. We got Roaring Earth to for +1/+1 counters. Actually, when it comes to enchantments, a lot of it's +1/+1 counter stuff. But we do have a ramp enchantment, that being Zendikar Resurgent. Zendikar Resurgent is an enchantment for 5 and 2 green. Whenever you tap a land for mana, add 1 mana of to your mana pool of any type that land produced. Whenever you cast a creature spell, draw a card. So ramp and card draw. Hey, these are a few of my favorite things, you know. We got some additional life gain, like we got Congregate. We got stuff for life gain. We got +1/+1 counters, shenanigans. We of course have a board wipe because, well, sometimes you just need to say, all right, we're done here. This is Day of Judgment. I try not to run too many board wipes in a deck. I think there's like maybe. I think my mono black deck is probably the deck with the most board wipes, which is amusing because, yeah. But yeah, we got some, like I said, plenty of ramp. I was actually doing some test draws earlier on Moxfield with the deck, and had a hand come up where it was like a forest and command tower were the only lands in the opening hand. And I hit draw, and This is Triumph was our draw, which should take 2 green. Okay, so you tap the command tower, you tap the forest, and Spiritual Library from the 2 basic forest cards. And there isn't a planeswalker in the deck, so you can't do 3. Well, actually, it would be 3 land cards, period. So maybe I need to work. Maybe I need to see about fitting this in here. But you reveal those cards and then put them into your hand and shuffle your library. Okay. Another card draw is Harmonize, which costs 2 and 2 green and allows you to draw 3 cards. Plain and simple. And we got Shamanic Revelation, which is both card draw and life gain for 3 and 2 green. You can draw a card for each creature you control. If you control a creature with power 4 or greater, you then gain 4 life for each, or you gain 4 life for each creature you control with power 4 or greater. Okay. But as for our mana base, well, of course we got some of the standards: Command Tower, Evolving Wilds, Terramorphic Expanse. We've also got a few fetchers in the way of Broker's Hideout and Cabaret Courtyard, both of which can go after plains and forests. We've also got Nykthos, Shrine to Nyx. I think this was in my. This may have also been in my Merfolk deck. I've got a few copies of it. It is a legendary land, though. It can be tapped for 1 colorless, or you can spend 2 and tap it and choose a color. Add to your mana pool an amount of mana of that color equal to your devotion to that color. And now realizing I don't have a Soul Ring in here, which Soul Ring would have been perfect to go with that, because tap your Soul Ring, then use that 2 mana to tap. Yeah, but then we got Temple of Plenty. Oh, okay. We actually do not have the Shockland, but we do at least have one. We do have Canopy Vista that is a Forest Plains. Okay, but like all my decks, all my commander decks, when it comes to actual lands, we've got 33. So, but anyway, I figured this was a fitting deck to do a video on for for the beginning of autumn. Anyway, as always, feel free to like, share, and subscribe. Links to my Facebook, Twitter, Patreon, and PayPal account in the description box down below. Let me know in the comments, either here or on Box, your thoughts on the deck. And as always, this is Rock Box signing off, saying, live long and rock hard.